Somebody was saying that we've all seen this in news, but somebody wrote in and wondered about the female Viagra and what we thought about it. What do you think?
What do I think in general? I think it's an absolute disaster. And first of all, I refuse to call it female Viagra because it is not Viagra. It has almost nothing in common with Viagra.
True.
It is a female-targeted, libido-enhancing, theoretically, drug. That's what it is.
Right. Yeah, it's got, and let me just say, and I have to say this, I'm not giving anybody medical advice. I'm just stating my personal opinion. It seems dangerous to me, anytime that I see a drug that messes around with serotonin, and I was just reading up on this, and it says that the drug, I think it acts on serotonin, and it was originally, they were trying to make another antidepressant pill, and they found that some women's libidos increased. I was taking this. I mean, regular Viagra was discovered by accident too, so that's just interesting.
Yeah, I think it was like a heart thing or something.
Yeah, but this acts on your brain, and maybe just because this is my field, but like whenever I see something acting on your brain, I want to get a little bit worried. And the fact that, and maybe you're going to say this, but the fact that a woman or any person, a man even, feels like they need to take a pill, not because they're dysfunctional, not because their body doesn't work, because they're wanting to have sex and they physically can't, or it's painful or inconvenient or whatever. I understand getting medication for that, but just because I don't know, it seems like you're trying to alter your personality. I think libido is just a piece of a person's build, and I think just trying to change it to make your husband happy or your boyfriend happy, or because all your girlfriends are getting laid a lot, like I don't know about that.
I think that you can try, like I think libido is dependent on some things, and you can try to change those things. Like I have a feeling your level of exercise, your diet, all that stuff, how long you've been in a relationship, all of those things affect your libido amongst other things. If you want to change those things, that's what people do. But if you're trying to like take a shortcut to just changing your libido, there's almost no way that that's going to work. And by the way, from the results of this female Viagra, you can't see me holding up the quotation marks, but first of all, I really want to say why I say I'm not going to call it that and why it's not that is because, as you pointed out, Viagra has nothing to do with a man's sex drive. It is literally just supposed to make his penis capable of physically becoming hard, which is specifically why, from what I've read, there's certain things that Viagra can cure, but not others. Like if it's a plumbing thing, it helps you. If it's a brain thing, it probably won't. It's because it doesn't work on your brain. Whereas the female Viagra doesn't have anything to do with your tackle box. It just has to do with your brain. It doesn't cure the same problem at all. I would say it doesn't even cure a problem. It makes up a problem and then purports to cure it in an extremely inefficient way.
And you're right? So like, if you don't know this, a little biology lesson, it's very hard for most drugs to cross what we call the blood-brain barrier. So only very specific drugs can do that. Viagra isn't one of them. Like you say, it's working in your blood vessels by just giving you more blood flow to your penis, but it's not like affecting your brain in a way.
Yeah.
And so just taking anything that's going to get into your brain at all is always a bit dicey. I wouldn't say dangerous, but look more closely into it. And you said something about like perhaps, for instance, Viagra is not going to help you get a boner if the reason you can't get boners is because of anxiety, right? And even
maybe placebo.
Right, and even if there was a drug that was affecting anxiety, because that's like a direct obstacle to sexual arousal. I am in the mood. My wife, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, whatever's here, and I can't get an erection because of anxiety, and you take a medication for anxiety. For me, even that feels a little bit safer. But because you're the type of person who isn't getting aroused at all, and you decide to take a drug to make you more aroused, that seems problematic. Again, because that's about your makeup as a person, or maybe your overall health, and at most the reason that you're not aroused at any given kind of period of time is most likely due to depression. And if you're depressed and you're not getting turned on, I would say address your depression and not just try to fuck your way through it.
And another reason that I'm so against it, and I think that it shouldn't have been approved in the first place, is like I don't think many people look into how effective drugs are or their side effects. They have to be in the commercials, but I don't think people pay attention to that. This drug almost couldn't be less effective than it is. It only has a positive effect on, I've read, between 8 and 13% of women, which almost sounds like random chance or an
Within
accident.
the margin of error, yeah.
Yeah, and then the effect it has is that on average, the women had half of a positive sexual experience more each month. Right. Motherfucker, a glass of wine could probably give you that if you had it every night. That is insane that was able to be passed. And this the main point that I want to make on this is, and why I hate this entire topic so much, is this entire thing has been a huge manipulation of the FDA and women specifically, right? Because it has been sold as, how dare the FDA approve all of these drugs for men and not approve drugs for women? Right. Well, here's the thing. Science doesn't work based on fairness. It works on what they can actually produce. You can make a drug that fills a man's penis with blood. You can't effectively make a drug that turns people on, men or women. Agreed. Like, I know that seems unfair. They don't have a drug like this for men. So it was sold as this sort of feminist thing, when it's telling women, you're wrong if you don't want to have sex. In fact, you're sick and you need to be fixed. It's inherently anti-feminist, the way they're pitching this. And it doesn't work. And it has negative side effects. Right, and dangerous. Those side effects are worse if you're on anti-anxiety drugs, if you're on birth control, if you're drinking alcohol, all of the things that you probably might be consuming if you're looking to bone more. Right. This is a gigantic clusterfuck.
I agree, man. And you know, we've talked about this, but this idea, I think that sometimes it's okay for men and women just to be different in a particular way. And I think in this way of, you know, men are just more horny than women, you know, like if you, overall, you know, so of course you take any given man or any given woman, that may or may not be true. But in general, you know, vastly in general, men are more turned on than women. And sometimes I think that this comes out of, you know, women receiving this message that they have to be as sexual as men, that, like, you know, that their libido has to match a man's in order to, I don't know, like, I don't know. And I think that there's something to the sexual revolution of women. Absolutely. Have as much sex as you want to. But when you try to sort of just be having sex because, you know, that's what somebody's telling you need to be doing, man or woman, I think that's problematic. Other thing is there is a disorder in the DSM. It's called HSDD, which stands for hypoactive, which means lower, sexual desire disorder. Now, there is this disorder, if anybody's listening and saying, you know, this guy's wrong because, you know, there is a psychological disorder. There is a disorder, but this disorder is defined by somebody's anxiety because they think they're supposed to be more sexual than they are. It's not a psychological disorder where your sex drive is lower. It's a disorder where you think, oh, my husband wants me to be having more sex, and I feel ashamed because I'm not turned on as he needs me to be or wants me to be. That's the disorder. It's not that your body's broken because you're not turned on. That's just how you're built, you know?
So it's not necessary. So this drug doesn't necessarily cure the thing they say you have. It causes the thing.
Yeah. The marketing of it at least does cause the thing that they say that it is supposed to cure.
Ridiculous.
You know?
The idea that like these gigantic pharmaceutical companies are just trying to make things even for women, it's ridiculous. They are trying to convince you that you have a problem. They want as many people to be labeled with this not having high enough sex desire or whatever, so that they can take this drug that has side effects that's not going to help them, so that they can make money. It's as simple as that. It's a shame overall.
They should market PMS pills for guys.
And then tell men, if you're not experiencing PMS, there might be something with you. Please contact your doctor.
Or if you're feeling anxiety for not being one of the guys who doesn't feel like he's supposed to have PMS.
Oh, jeez.
You know? It's like,
watch Netflix, man. Don't turn on TV. It's going to convince you you've got all these medical problems.
Right. All right.
This
think
world we live in.